Hey homeschool friends, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to a video where I am planning to highlight sunlight. And so yesterday I took a ton of clips of us going through our day, reading all the things that are on our schedule for HBL-D, which is History, Bible, Literature, the first year of American history. So I'm going to be showing you those clips, but I also want to kind of walk you through it. I want to show you inside the materials. I'm going to show you clips of inside every single book I read, so you can see about how much time it would take you to do this program. So I want it to be a really useful video, as well as just kind of a glimpse into how our homeschool day goes, some of the conversations, some of the responses. It was pretty fun to film, and so I'm excited to share it with you guys today. So let me just show you. Let me show you how sunlight goes in our day. So hi, my name is Angie. Welcome to the channel. If you're new, welcome back, all the things. Now, before I get too far, I do always need to say a quick shout out to Sonlight for sending me a lot of these materials in exchange for my honest review, which will be part of this video. I also want to draw your attention to a coupon code. I mention it sometimes. I forget a lot of other times, but it's just $10 off your first order, which, you know, it's $10. So I always want to mention that. So that's down below in the description box. So now we do use other aspects of the Sonlight program. We use the science as well as the language arts. And so those are going to be completely separate videos, because I think that will really help me like describe the programs better. And this, we can just really focus on the history, Bible, and literature. And for reference, the kids that I'm targeting this at are my 10-and-a-half-year-old, my 5th grader, and my 9-year-old 4th grader. Now you'll see and hear probably, I have my twins in there as well. They're my 6-year-old twins, and you'll see how we adopt them and add them in a bit. And so the first thing I do every day, even before I collect all the materials, which I will show you, is to look through my planner. So I'm just going to pop up some screenshots of that just to kind of give you a good idea of what I'm looking for and how I organize myself. Okay, so I'm zooming in here, and this is just the Sonlight Planner. I have a review on the channel. I will link above, but you can see in this first line, I have history and science, and then I have Bible down below. So these are all our together subjects. But I also have some little green boxes here, and this is my twins. So this is their HBL-A, which we do a little bit adjusted for them. We just pretty much keep it on topic with the big kids. And then you can see as I go down here that in other colors we have my twins, my 5th grader, my 4th grader. It's all their math and their language arts and different things like that. But really this top couple rows is our Sonlight HBL, as well as our science is in there too. And so I'll show you that again in another video. And so you can see we're focusing on day 36 and 37, and I sometimes do combine days if I have either gotten a little bit behind or I see that it's easy to squeeze in 2 days, then I will do it. And you'll see why as we get to this part of history. That's my reasoning for both day 36 and 37. And I also want to show you the IG. And so this, again, here's day 36, and I'm going to take you down the row here. Now there's the Bible here on top. We'll get to that part, as well as mostly we're just doing the memory work at this point. We're not using some of the other resources, or we didn't use them on this day, but we still have them in rotation. And then you can see we are reading the Beginner's American History, which is assigned for both of those days. So it makes it very easy to combine. And then on the flip side, you can see this is where all of the questions are, which we go through at the end of the reading. It keeps it very simple. Now, the other thing we did yesterday was we read our poetry. And so the poetry is assigned for 1 day a week, usually for HBL-D, and I just assign it based on where it fits best in our day. I also am pointing out the read aloud and the readers, which we're pretty much on target and are keeping with our history, which is important for this level because it's so tied together. And then you can see the Lapbook here I'm pointing to because we love the Lapbook. And so I will show you some clips of my kids doing that as I get them set up for kind of before I start reading the history readings for the day. And so yes, this is the planner. This is what happens. This is how I organize myself. You can see it's a bit of a mess, but this is definitely my homeschool mom brain. All right, I'm starting to pull the things for the day, and you can see that we actually work at the table. These are technically what Sonlight might call couch subjects, but because we do lap books with history, I like to do it all at the table. Although first we start with Bible. And you can see I have my Bible out, as well as some of the extra Bible resources that we will use. I didn't use those extra resources in my clips, but they are there and they're often in rotation. And then here is also our scripture memory box, which I will go way more into when we get to that part. But that's just kind of an overview of Bible, which is where we're going to start for the day. All right, so we're doing Luke 14:25-35. All right, guys? So it's called The Cost of Discipleship. Now great crowds accompanied him, and he turned and said to them, "If anyone comes to me and does not hate his own father and mother and wife and children and brothers and sisters, yes, even his own life, he cannot be my disciple. Whoever does not bear his own cross and come after me cannot be my disciple." All right, so from here it's talking about the cost of following Jesus. Do you sometimes feel like there's a cost, or do you feel like it's easy peasy? What kind of cost would you say in just everyday life?
Devoting your life to...
Yep, so kind of logistics of it, but also think about what are some things maybe in comparison with like some of the neighbor kids. Are there differences? Things? Yeah, it is. It's hard sometimes to get everything you want, right? Or feel like you're missing out. And I did want to highlight our scripture memory box because I set this up this past summer and I had a number of questions about it. It's really pretty straightforward. There is the daily verse, and then there is an odd or even. So if you're on an odd or even day, and then there's the days of the week, Monday through Friday, and then there's the numbers of the month, which you can see. So that gives you 4 things to review during that memory work session. Currently, we're taking a break from like the week 9 or 10 new memory verses, and we are just reviewing because it's been a bit of a struggle to remember some of the old verses, and I really want my kids to be able to remember them. I don't want to just keep giving them new stuff for them to forget it. And so you'll get to hear a little bit of our scripture memory practice in this next clip. All right, guys, so the next thing we have then is scripture memory. And like we've been doing, we're just reviewing, right? And so let's take our daily verse. So our daily verse is Philippians 2:14-15. You guys like this one. This is the whining one. Do all things without grumbling or disputing, that you may be blameless and innocent, children of God, without blemish in the midst of a crooked and twisted generation, among whom you shine as lights in the world. Okay, can you see how much of that you can do? Do all things
Without grumbling and whining.
And without grumbling or disputing, that you may
Be blameless
and innocent, children of God. All right, today's is even. So this is Proverbs 16:24. Gracious words are like a honeycomb, sweetness to the soul and health to the body. See, we do have some work to do on our scripture. We have forgotten pretty much everything we have learned over the past 2 years. But that's okay. That's why we're doing some review. Okay, so that is our memory work.
This is going to be the worst video.
Okay, we're going to do history now. And after Bible, we just transition right into history because Bible does not take us that long to read through some of that scripture. And now I have pulled out all the history specific materials, including our main resource for reading as well as the one for the twins, which you will see. And then you can see I'm showing you a little bit inside the lap books and what my kids have done so far. This is a highlight for them. They really enjoy crafting and pulling these things together. I have learned that I can't have them do any writing while they're listening, but they can do a lot of cutting and pasting and coloring, and then we'll have to take some extra time to do any of the writing aspects of the lap book, but it works really well. Okay guys, so the plan is, you guys did this yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Mitchell map. So today you're doing plantation crops. So can you pull out plantation crop 1 and 2? You're just going to cut out the panels and fold on the dash line like this. And then you're going to cut out the titles. All right, boys, actually, since you're here, we're going to do your book. So what we're going to talk about is kids and school. Last time we talked about manners. Do you remember? What was the funniest thing you learned?
No talking.
No talking at mealtime. The first school that boys and girls went to in colonial days was called a dame school. The teacher was a woman and the children came to her house. What book is that from?
The Witch of Blackbird Pie.
Yeah. In dame school, children learned to read and write.
Oh, day school, not
Dame, D-A-M-E, dame school.
Dame.
Yep. Did they have school books? Older children used a book called the New England Primer, or Primer. Children in dame school used a special kind of school book called a horn book. It was not a real book with pages to turn. Boys, you're good to go if you want, but you can stay also if you want. Okay, so we are starting to read about Benjamin Franklin, you two. What do you know about Benjamin Franklin? Do you know anything?
That he was a printer and
By the mid-1700s, Philadelphia had surpassed Boston as the largest city in British America. In fact, it was the second largest city in all of British Empire. The young man did not only write most of what he printed in his paper, but he often made his own ink. Sometimes he even made his own type. Here's a piece of type. Like, do you see that? It's like a part of it, almost like a typewriter. Like it's a stamp. It looks like a stamp, right?
They stamped from that?
I don't think so, but it looks like a stamp, right? So the last thing we have here is poetry, lyric verse. So it says, "My dear, aren't you smitten by these words that I've written?" So some poets write as a way of telling stories, but other poets want to express feelings like love, sadness, joy, and grief. To do these, writers turn to lyric verse. Lyric verse is different from narrative poetry in many ways. While narrative poetry tells fantastic tales, lyric poetry is written to stir emotions within you. Do you remember narrative verse where we did Paul Revere's Ride?
Yeah.
So narrative is telling a story, right? We're going to listen to one called A Red, Red Rose. Should we listen to it on my phone?
Yes.
All right. 24.
A Red, Red Rose by Robert Burns. Oh, my love is like a red, red rose that's newly sprung in June.
What emotion were you?
Sadness.
I would say, yeah, love. It felt more like love than sadness
Love
to
and
me.
like longing, kind of like.
Okay, so you just saw a lot of the history, how we talk about it. I love how we're able to bring the resources for my twins from HBL-A and have it intersect with what we are talking about with the big kids. And so that's really sweet and really special. And then after that, I was able to do some poetry with the kids, which is just really fun. They enjoy this particular book because there's some online components. Like there is a website with the track numbers and somebody else reads it. Not that I can't read it, but they just really enjoy hearing it from someone who enunciates poetry in maybe the right way. And so that's really fun. So we're able to do our poetry. So that really is our morning block. So this happens first thing, right after breakfast and dishes and any chores we need to get done. We start this block. So it's probably our largest Sonlight block for the day is this Bible, history, and poetry if we need to put poetry in there. Now Bible shifts around for us. So I made a recent schedule video for our homeschool and I mentioned the fact that we had Bible in the evenings over dinner. This week that didn't work. We had some stuff going on in the evenings, so I move it to the spot right before history. So it's flexible in that. I do prefer when I have my husband there and he can help chat through things, but it's better to make sure it gets done, and so we'll do it right here before history. And I find that that's not too much. I feel like if we were to add anything else to this block, my kids would start to zone out. And it really does help to have some of those activities from an activity bin, especially if I'm talking my 6-year-olds, but they do wander off. I kind of keep them here at the beginning of this block, but they are allowed to go play. So that's 2 subjects, right? History, Bible. So all we have left is read alouds and readers. And you can see here that my daughter was reading her reader outside. My 2 big kids, they share their reader. And so they have to kind of find different times within the day to read it. And this particular chapter was actually a little bit on the longer side, but it's pretty easy reading for them. It's not as dense as some of the other things we've read, like Blood on the River. And so this book, they can handle the fact that it's a little longer chapters, and they both are really enjoying this cute little mystery story that has to do with Benjamin Franklin, and it all ties back to like the history that we were talking about. So it's just really fun. And then the last part of our HBL for Sonlight is when we read our read aloud, or when I read the read aloud to the kids over lunch typically. And I have really loved the book we're reading, which is The Witch of Blackbird Pond. And as you could hear from my daughter earlier, there is a lot of overlap in just kind of our history materials with early colonial days, and then how this main character of Kit, how she's kind of living within that culture. And it's just so very interesting for them. They really enjoy it. They have insightful things to say. And I was able to catch some of those clips from yesterday's reading, so I will play those next. 6 voices chanted the words in unison. 2 small heads bent earnestly over each of the 3 dog-eared primers, which were all the dame school could boast. "That's fine," praised Kit. "Now go on. At the opposite end of the kitchen, Mercy, having generously allotted to Kit the primer readers, was laboring with the beginners. They sat hunched on the bench, each holding in hand a horn book. Remember we talked about this morning, horn books. Okay, back along the South Road, Kit walked with a lightness and freedom she had never known since the day she sailed. Hannah Tupper was far from being a witch, but certainly she had worked a magical charm. In one short hour, she had conjured away the rebellion that had been seething in the girls' minds for weeks. Only one thing must be done before Kit could truly be at peace, and without speaking a word, Hannah had given her the strength to do it. Straight up Broad Street she walked, up the path to the square frame house, and knocked boldly on the door of Mr. Eleazar Kimberly. Ooh, it got dark. What do you think is her plan? What do you think she wants to do at the schoolmaster's house?
Apologize and
Probably.
see
How do you think Hannah helped her, the witch of Blackbird Pond?
that be your own self. Be
Yeah.
yourself.
Well, she was talking about that bulb, right? There was a bulb from South Africa. And Kit was like, how did it grow here? And she said, I think it was just determined to make its place. Even though it was not supposed to be there, right? So how can you apply that to Kit's situation?
She's the bull.
Yes.
Yeah, and she needs courage.
And she needs to believe in herself and be determined, right? So there you go, friends. That is a little bit of a walkthrough of Sonlight's HBL-D. It's really been a favorite. It's been a favorite so far this year. And if you are at all interested in kind of how it's going, I do make monthly update videos. So please subscribe so that way you can hear kind of how we're feeling on the month-to-month basis. I typically give kind of reviews of the books, what's working for my kids, what we're dropping for a season, things like that. I will explain in our update videos. And if you're watching this later in the future, I also do make playlists of every year of our updates. So you can actually go back if you're more interested in HBL-B or HBL-C. I have a playlist of our update videos from the entire year, which I feel like those are really helpful because you get to watch us work through the materials a little bit at a time. And I don't know, I just find that kind of information useful, and I hope you do as well. And I hope you were able to find this video useful and get a little bit better idea of maybe how this program might incorporate into your day based on what you saw in this video. But of course, please down below, let me know if you have any questions that maybe I didn't cover in this or I forgot to mention or anything like that. I would love to try and help you with that. But if you have nothing to say, but yet you want to comment to let me know you are here, let's do a kite emoji for Benjamin Franklin. That'd be perfect. And so you guys, thank you for stopping by. I always appreciate it. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Again, subscribe if you want to follow kind of our journey with Sonlight and other things in homeschool. Please subscribe. And otherwise, you guys, I will see you in the next homeschool video. All right, take care.